And welcome back to American Agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Bob Sellers. Former President Trump today lashing out at the Wall Street Journal editorial board, calling out rhinos or Republicans in name only, telling the GOP to abandon him. Well, Mr. Trump says the Wall Street Journal editorial page continues knowingly to fight for globalist policies such as bad trade deals, open borders, and endless wars that favor other countries, and sell out our great American workers. And they fight for rhinos that have so badly hurt the Republican Party. Trump went on to say that the rhino resistance in Congress lost the elections for Republicans. So let's bring back in our panel to talk a little bit more about this again. And Joe, I'm going to start with you. What about the statement that the former president made?
I think he's absolutely right. Rhinos are ruining the Republican Party, the MAGA movement, the conservative movement. It's interesting to me. I talk about this a lot on my show. When Democrats are in trouble, like Eric Swalwell, what a big conflict this would be if he were a Republican. What a major controversy this would be. They just swallowed that up. They dealt with it like a family, circled the wagons. Everything's fine. On the Republican side, 10 Republicans, alleged Republicans, vote to impeach Trump. You've got 3 that said yes to, or 2 or 3 that say yes to the Equality Act, which basically says no more women's sports at all. So you've got a situation where you've actually got a splintered side on the Republican side, on the right side, and the left is always congealed. They're always ready for the fight. They're always ready to circle the wagons, always ready to give the narrative, always ready to share that email in the morning to say these words on CNN and MSNBC and these other channels. He's right. And he has to keep on calling them out, like I'm sure Stacy does. I'm going to continue to do on my show, as you guys do on Newsmax TV. Yeah, call out people who claim that they're all like-minded when it comes to their value system, and then they do something completely against that value system. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. I was just going to ask Stacy, since you referenced her. You know, Stacy, do you think that the war within the Republican Party is as big of an issue as it's being made out to be by the media, or is this something that will subside as we get closer and closer to 2022?
I mean, so there's a war if you think about the people who are in the minority within the Republicans. They want control of the party. Sure, then there's a war. The establishment wing of the party is less than half. The majority of the party right now is a Trump base. It's a Trump-centric base. So the most important thing that we can do is remember that 2 warring factions of one party mean Democrat rule in perpetuity, which is why President Trump approached the stage at CPAC and made that seminal observation that he would not be starting a third party because it means losing forever. So this is the party that is headed by former President Trump. And all of us know it. Now, the establishment wing wants to take control and bring us back to sweater vest wearing, never, ever actually truly accomplishing anything, you know, that kind of stuff. And most of us are now populists who want to see actual results, promises made, promises kept. A survey taken last year proved that Americans want politicians to actually accomplish the things they promise on the campaign trail for which they have offered their vote as a transaction. So I don't think there's a war, but the Democrats would love there to be a war, and so would the rhinos within the party, because it makes them more important, those 10 ne'er-do-wells. So, you know, no war.
I agree with you about most things, Stacy, but I kind of like sweater vest. I don't know. I think
what's wrong with
they
a
can
nice
be cute.
Sweater vest?
I know.
Exactly.
What's
wrong with that? I look okay in a sweater vest.
You should pull off the sweater vest. You look fantastic in a sweater vest. I want to wear one, but on a man in red, that's a warning sign.
I might have to pull it out of my closet tomorrow. Bob, what do you think about you know, this war, and plus, you know, the former president jumping behind candidates for 2022?
But let me say that Stacy and Joe are correct, but let me bracket it with the other side just a bit. And that is, the Republicans have never been good lemmings. They don't take orders and just all fall into line like the left does. And as a result, they're independent-minded. But the percentage of the rhinos, the number of people is so infinitesimal in comparison to what it was in the past. I was a Reagan delegate in '76, and we were the fraction that was small. There is such tremendous support for the president. And finally, let me just quickly say that the Lincoln Project, for example, every one of those Lincoln Project folks ran national campaigns for McCain, for the Bushes, for Romney, for Kasich. All of folks, and they have been completely brushed aside. I think the Republican Party is more united than it has ever been in my lifetime.
Yeah, and Bob, number two or number one, beside me.
You can call me number two. That's fine.
You know, Bob, that's a question that I actually had asked earlier in reference to, you know, where are all these names coming from that now are getting put into different polls? They're appearing in some of these opinion shows to give their opinion about what's going on. Republicans, where are those names, you know, coming from? What groups are kind of trying to leak them out there to test the waters?
I don't know the answer to that. I did want to follow up a little on Bob. You know, back in Reagan day, remember Reagan used to have the 11th commandment, don't criticize a fellow Republican. And it does make me wonder whether going after so-called rhinos is the right approach when you need everybody's vote. Because there are a lot of people that may not have liked President Trump's personality sometimes, but they liked his policies and would continue to like his policies. And I do wonder sometimes whether it's time at a certain point to say, okay, don't like you being a so-called rhino, but look, remember, we're for tax cuts. We're for funding the police. We're for, you know, America first policies as far as foreign policy is concerned. That you may want to bring people home, not just alienate them. I don't know, Bob. You're the real politician here. I'm not.
You're absolutely right. And at the point that when you have over 90% support, don't waste your time on the handful that are left. Just go out and capture some more folks, because the country favor of a strong America again. And so I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the
if I may disagree just a tad with Bob and Bob, number one and number two, you guys can decide who's what. For me, we just lost the Senate. The House did not go back to Republicans and lost the White House. So that 10% or 5% or 8% or whatever it is might have true blue conservative or true red conservatives sitting on their hands instead of voting because they don't like Liz Cheney and her politics. They don't like that Mitt Romney keeps on going out against what he says he stands for, that he votes against it. Yeah. I think that can without a doubt dissuade people from voting. That's why, yes, let's be independent, but not so much so that we keep losing elections. Let's be independent, but also make sure we bring everybody in. I think you guys kind of said that, but at the same time, you have to call out the outliers. If you don't, people won't vote.
Yeah. Well, 97% of the folks at CPAC support the former president's agenda, the America First agenda. So perhaps it would be smart to get on board with that. Stick by, everyone. Coming up, we're going to talk about the left and their cancel culture. They're actually canceling kids' books. You can see them all with their dirty looks. And now it's time to cancel Dr. Seuss. Was this supposed to be a rhyme? Because I'm butchering if it was. I don't know. We're going to talk about Dr. Seuss and cancel culture coming up next.